Lucas, that's your name, right?
Yeah, no, I go by Wemby now.
Okay. What's the question, Wemby? What's the question?
So we're talking about Steve Kerr, obviously, and the young guys and the dynamic there. The question that I've seen brought up, we tweeted about what you had to say about Steve Kerr and his comments. A lot of Warrior fans think that it's not just the young players failing Steve Kerr, it's Steve Kerr failing the young players and how he failed to develop them. How would you side on that? Whether it's the young guys not being ready, not fixing their attitude, having the right attitude to come in, even though they haven't played in the last week, to come in and impact the game, or is it the other side?
It's a tough question to answer without being there and watching things.
It's a good question. It's also a stupid question.
That's a great question.
No, it's the stupidest question ever, is what it is. But no, here's why I would lean in the direction of the young players failed the Warriors rather than the Warriors and Steve Kerr failed the young players, because what we're talking about with these latest comments are attitudinal issues. That's different to me. If it were basketball, like for instance, to me, James Wiseman is more of a failure by the Warriors structure than Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole was, this is one of the things that's great. When have they developed a young player? Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole went from G League to $130 million late first round.
He led the team in scoring last year, Mark.
That's called player, sort of. I know he had the most points. Not per game.
He led the team in scoring. If the goal is to score points, no Golden State Warriors scored more points last year than Jordan Poole.
He led the team in
Facts.
points. He led the team in points.
In points scored.
Right.
Which is also known as scoring.
No, it's not.
Points a game.
No, scoring.
Is it his fault that he played all 82?
Yes.
And old what's-his-face could only manage to play 56?
Totally his fault. Now, if we're just talking about basketball, then I would look to the developmental structure with a team. If we're talking about attitude, and it has the appearance that the coaching and the leadership and the begging and the pleading has all happened and it's still not there, that's on the player. I give you, for me, one of the most concerning moments of the whole year is Jordan scores 0 in a playoff game, finds the locker room, and speaks about lack of opportunity. I don't know what to do with that. And I don't know how to blame anybody but Jordan.
Well, he only played 10 minutes, so he didn't have a lot of opportunity in that game.
Right.
It's a fact.
Right.
I mean,
and what did he do with the opportunities he did have?
In that game?
Yeah.
0 of 4 and 0 of 2 from 3.
Yeah.
And he was only a -6, and the team lost by 3.
How about most of the other games surrounding that game?
Well, he had 5 points in the previous game, and he had 6 the game before that. And I'm not going to defend Jordan Poole because I vehemently believe that Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga are not to blame. I have it slightly the other way, though, in terms of the development of the players, because I look at Jonathan Kuminga as an example, and Jonathan Kuminga was not utilized very much, and then he was utilized a ton, and then he wasn't used at all. And is it because he wasn't ready to contribute in that spot? Okay, I'll believe that. But why was Jonathan Kuminga not ready to be a contributor in the series against the Lakers at all? Why was he not in a better place? Was it because he, the individual, didn't work hard enough? Or is it because the team didn't develop him well enough? I think that there's equal parts in both of that. The Jordan Poole one, I think, is a little bit more nuanced because you mentioned it. Jordan Poole has been a great player. The guy averaged 20 points a game in the regular season. That's not easy to do in the association. Yet, you got into a Lakers series, and I was only saying what I was saying there to make light of the reality when he had 0 points, because you go from averaging 20 points a game, and you went 6-5-0, 11-7 over the course of the last 5 games in that series. That's 29 points in 5 games. Yeah. That is 6 points a game. That's not good enough, Mark.
For so many fans, the further we get away from these games, you're all forgetting what it was like to watch Jordan Poole play basketball.
It was frustrating.
Stop being disingenuous. It was terrible. It made you want to yank your head from your hair from your head. It made you want to throw things. It made you tweet. It made you text. it made you. I watched it. I did it. We all experienced this together. Don't be disingenuous.
13 for 43 in the final 5 games.
Come on.
In the series.
Come on. Lack of opportunity.
Come on, people.
Only 10 minutes, Mark.
GTFOH with lack of opportunity. You just said, didn't he lead the team in points this year? I heard.
Yeah, he did. Led the team in scoring.
Sounds like he had a lot of opportunities.
During the regular season.
Yeah.
And then you got into the playoffs. And I'm not going to defend the lack of opportunity quote because I think that was a misguided comment from a frustrated player. I want to go back to what Lucas said in terms of where do you lay blame? Because I think that it might be 50-50 in terms of the split. Because as a coaching staff, when you know you have a young core, you've got Moody, you've got Kuminga, you've got Wiseman, and you've got Poole, all under the age of 24. And I'll even throw in PBJ and Ryan Rollins because they're also young players as well. When you know that your core is going to be a bunch of veterans, and then your fringe guys are going to be 23 and under, you've got to coach in a certain way to really bend over backwards to make them either be a part of it or not be a part of it.
That's an interesting comment.
And I think that they, the coaching staff...
Bend over backwards for the young guys?
You're going to need them, Mark. That's the point.
Well, sure.
This is not like these guys are going to be players 10 through 15 and you don't need any of them. You knew you were going to need Jordan Poole, and his season started with a fist in his face.
But you need him to be a certain way also. You need him. You need everybody to buy in.
But you didn't. Jordan Poole never got to that point where he became the player that you needed him to be. Now, is that Jordan's fault? Absolutely. How much of that falls on the veterans in the team and also the coaching staff? I do think some of it falls on them as well.
Sure. I mean, do you think Jordan Poole's bought in? You think he bought in?
To what?
To the Warriors.
To the Warriors, to the way the Warriors want him to play?
You could say this any way you want.
You know what he's bought into?
Now, do you think that Jordan is bought in to the Warriors?
He's bought into the fact that he is a 9-figure NBA player.
That's not the Warriors. And
the answer would be no, Mark. The answer is no. Okay. He's not bought into the Warriors.
Well, then he got to go.
Well, then why did you pay him? Did you pay him thinking that he would get bought in?
Well, remember.
Or did you pay him because you felt bad about the way his training camp started?
Remember. Well, no, I don't think it was that. Remember, if you don't pay him, you can't trade him. You're going to get nothing for him. You're going to get nothing for him.
You could sign and trade him.
You could, but that gets out of your hands a little bit. That gets out of your control. Right now, if they don't sign him, Jordan Poole is a restricted free agent. That means, and again, that's without knowing how he was going to play this year. For all they would know at that time, price would only go up if you let him play another year. The price normally goes up with an ascending player. And now, other teams who will want poison pills and everything else, they set the market for Jordan Poole, and then you're stuck paying him A, either even more, or B, letting him go for nothing. Those are your options likely if you don't pay him when they paid him. So
you paid him when you paid him.
I understand where they were coming from.
And that led to a player who played as if he had arrived. He played as if he was paid in full. He played as if he was playing for himself in many ways.
Jordan. That's right.
I didn't feel like he was bought into the Warriors' way, even though he was paid in full. But how could you expect him to be bought into what the Warriors were trying to do when his season started the way it started?
Well, I guess I would answer that by saying this is not his first season. He should have already bought into the Warriors well before it. Now, yes, did the beginning of the season send this totally off the rails? Absolutely. Is that his fault? Not even a little bit. So I'm with you on all that.
Yeah.
But how many people who are insiders have we had on this show and we ask them, hey, does Jordan want to be a Warrior? And they're like, I don't know. Well, you got to go.
If you were Jordan, would you want to be a Warrior?
I certainly would have. I would have.
Right now, you're Jordan Poole, and you've got $138 million waiting for you no matter what. And your choice is return to this team with that teammate or go somewhere else. Same money, fresh start.
I'd probably want to go.
Yeah.
I'd probably want to go.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. The truth is on 101
Finally.
North, right?
Been waiting for the
Well,
truth.
we're waiting for somebody to call up and call themselves the false. But anyway, go ahead, Truth.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I just want to add some context and perspective. There's a lot of moving parts to this. And you said people don't know. Some people do know. They're around some of these people socially on a personal level as well as in professional circles. And there's a lot, I think, that more people do know. And I just, bear with me, I'll be as concise as possible. A few moving parts, like I said. There's poison in the well, and it's one singular entity. It's not young guys. There's only one personality type that's distinctly different than the rest of them. Just off top, Jonathan Kuminga holds no weight or gravity in that room. How he speaks or behaves doesn't impact or affect the vibe really at all. Also, just this Warriors demise is just so over-talked and overhyped right now. People need to realize, winning rings is very, very hard. And I think what Steve Kerr was really saying is we always point to health and how you need health and depth. And but the other part is you have to have the right vibe. And the vibe was very off, but the depth was fine. If you look at these teams that are still around and how many minutes these players are playing, the Warriors had plenty of depth. So it was the vibe that was the issue. So there's an important timeline with this, and I want to start going back to the end of last season, and then I'll look backwards. The vibe was outstanding for the Warriors all the way through their trip overseas. Everything was going great, but something started to build, and then let me go back now. You said something, Dibs, that was important. Draymond Green just had on Steve Kerr. This is unprecedented of what somebody's talking about, an active player and an active coach in all of this context, and here's sharing that sort of information. Draymond Green's not going anywhere. Steve Kerr's not going anywhere. That does not happen. And Draymond Green is not just a player. Draymond Green is an extension of the coaching staff. And everyone in that locker room and organization knows that. And then you go back to another anchor point. Jordan Poole's body language and behavior during the playoffs when he was being asked to make adjustments and corrections to star players, to coaches, it was nuts to watch. Then you also have Steve Kerr on your own radio station throughout the year when people were pressing him about, hey, Jordan Poole's defense is plus minus. Like, there's viral tapes going around. Like, it's 5-on-4 when he's out there. Like, he might have given away 8, 10, 12 games with his defense. And he gently said, well, we do talk about this. He let them know we're trying to hold him accountable. We're trying to have him make defensive adjustments. Didn't happen. Then you go back to the actual punch. And if you actually start digging around, or you guys want to talk to insiders, the punch was not because of Draymond Green feeling disrespected. Draymond Green felt Jordan Poole was disrespecting the coaching staff, Ron Adams, Steve Kerr, etc., and that's not happening. And then where the vibe really got messed up, this punch gets leaked, right? And then the Warriors have a responsibility to make Jordan Poole still feel welcome, because that's not cool. We all know. Draymond stepped way over a line. You can't punch somebody. You can't do that. So they all had Jordan Poole's back. Oh, Jordan hasn't been talking bad, Jordan that. But it was not true and authentic. Jordan Poole has made the whole team uncomfortable. And now put a bow on this whole thing. The problem is they did have to sign Jordan Poole, and they did it because there were no other options. But he's made himself untradeable. And the irony of now the whole situation is for him to be tradable is you're going to have to package him with Kuminga and Moody and draft picks, or nobody's going to want to take that contract on, because you're looking at a player who just broke the NBA record for the lowest three-point percentage shooting for the amount of attempts per game that he took, who was also notoriously a terrible, if not the worst, perimeter defender in the NBA. And if you start looking at his plus-minus in I forget the actual metric, and I'll leave it there. Jordan Poole just had one of the worst seasons in the history of the NBA for somebody who still is filling up stat lines. So this is not a young player problem. This is a one-entity problem of somebody who has not fit the way the rest of these guys think, and they just have professional decorum to not completely throw him under the bus like that. But I cannot see there's any way he's coming back unless he's truly, truly untradeable. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
thank you, Truth.
I think there is a ton of...
We should have reset that call in the middle. That was good.
I was just going to say that I think that there was a lot of truth to what he just said.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
But what he also said, it made it sound like he thought that he was saying stuff that was very, very different than what many of us have been speculating or reporting or saying or anything in between all along. There's some intricacies there that I think are new, and it sounds like maybe he knows someone who knows someone.
He
whatever.
knows the truth. That's all, Mark.
There it is.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we've been saying the whole time, is it not? Whether there's a good reason, I don't think there can be. There's no good reason for what Draymond did, but every other thing that has happened with the Warriors before then and since then suggests that while nobody supports the punch, also nobody supports Jordan Poole. That was obvious all year long. It was obvious. So sure, what led to that? Whether it was what people, it's money, it's young people versus old people.
Decorum is what Truth was saying.
Disrespect of the coaching staff. It can be any reason that you want it to be.
Don't be disrespectful.
I don't know how you watch all that we've watched and listen to all we've listened to and come away with the feeling that this Warrior group is comfortable with Jordan Poole. They're not. It's obvious.
Right.
Beyond obvious.
And the bigger issue to me in looking at the season in terms of why it went awry, you had no choice but to play him because you didn't have anything else on the bench. And the year before, you were able to get through Boston in the NBA Finals without really playing Jordan Poole that much because GP2 played great. Wiggins played out of his mind. Otto Porter contributed a little bit. Even JTA was able to step on the floor at times and play pretty well. Moses Moody had a role. This year, you needed Jordan Poole more than you probably would have liked. And, Truth, our caller was right in terms of the ethos of the team. It felt off all the way from the beginning of the year. And you said it, Mark, when you have the chef getting mad and throwing his mouthpiece and Klay Thompson showing frustration, this is not something that normally happens with this team. So I bring it back again to me, the biggest question of all, what now? What you mean, what now? Little Pulp Fiction for you right there with Butch. Two things. You got to leave town. Jordan Poole is what it is.
Do you agree with what Truth said? He is untradeable.
You be gone. You stay gone.
I don't agree.
That's my Marcellus Wallace right there.
Oh, Marcellus Wallace. I thought you were going to say Marcellus Wiley.
No,
I'm like,
no,
he didn't
friend
say
of
it
the
like
program.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, after he and Butch have the incident with Zed, Zed's dead, and Butch comes back and saves the day with a shotgun blast from way downtown, and he says, "What now? What you mean? What now?" And Butch is like, "You and me. What now? Because I kind of was your enemy, and now I just saved your life.
Now we're here.
Two things: you are gone, you be gone, you stay gone."
That is
I think that's where we are.
That's how it's going to go. That's how it's going to go. I don't think he's untradeable. I'll agree that his value may have gone down.
And I agree with Truth that it's going to take Kuminga and it's going to take the pick.
That's fine.
Honestly, I've said this all along.
Great.
The Warriors don't want to make that pick.
Yeah,
and
great.
I'm not Mike Dunleavy Jr., but I played him in a play one time. They don't want to pick anybody because one thing we know about this Warrior team, Mark, they don't like young players. They don't love the young people. So if they take somebody at 19...
Because they're trying to win right
exactly.
now. They're trying to win.
So you pick somebody at 19, basically you're saying, with the 19th pick, we select nobody because we're not going to play you. That's what they want.
Yep.
So trade the pick.
Mike in Santa Clara is next up on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Mike, what are you doing?
What's up, man? Hey, I don't know if you guys remember, I actually was playing at the Villages last Friday. Broke my 82, Willard.
Atta babe, good for you. Oh, I do remember now. You were just on your way out to the first tee. What'd you shoot?
I was like a half hour out. Yeah, I called you guys in and everything. So yeah, I ended up hitting 80, but I got to get two more times before I can actually say I averaged out.
Why didn't you make the putt for 79 on 18, Mike? What the hell are you doing?
Well, I sucked on my driver.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy.
Be better, Mike. All right, what do you got?
Exactly. It was a driver. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I was, to Truth's point, and I completely agree with him. But I want to say, though, that, man, Jordan Poole has just been a catalyst on the team. My original call for it was to actually want to make a trade with Poole and Kuminga involved for a superstar player. But also, and I know we kind of got into it as I was listening to you guys, I had that first round pick and just include that into a superstar player. But at the same time, I think one of the biggest things, and I'm going back to Poole for a sec, is only because of the fact, I think it was Game 4 against the Lakers, and it was a off-screen video where Poole ended up just completely just offing off like Draymond, and Steph had to step over it to him. So it actually just shows like what kind of leadership Steph has, but also the if you want to say the camaraderie between like him, Clay, and Steph, because it just shows that like Steph is going to have Draymond's back at the same time, and it's only because like we know what Draymond can do, and so I feel that losing Draymond is going to be a bad thing in this case. We need to keep Draymond, but we still need to get that backup role, if not a number 5, to actually go into the starting role outside of Draymond and be able to use Draymond as that 5, as a backup.
Yeah, Mike, congrats on your 80, and you don't have to worry. Draymond's not going anywhere. And do you want to know why they all consistently have each other's backs? It's not so much about all those X's and O's. It's because years ago they bought in. That's what teammates do. And then you have a ton of success with one another, and poof, you always have one another's back, always. And I feel like the old guys feel like they have not been able to get the young guys to buy in, and that's how we got here. You can blame whoever you want for that, but that's how we got here.